Geona Shaw Johnson is the director of the City of Charleston's Housing and Community Development. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with Geona one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio. Geona Shaw Johnson.
Yes, sir.
It's so good to meet you.
You as well.
I appreciate this greatly.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome anytime. And I understand that you have been the director for the City of Charleston's Department of Housing and Community Development for 23 years.
Actually, I haven't been in this role that
Okay.
long. I have been with the city that long,
Wow.
but in different capacities. I have been in the role as director since 2007.
Wow.
Yes.
2007 to now, what is the biggest difference about housing and community development when it comes to Charleston?
Well, I think for housing and community development, and certainly we would probably separate them because although they're interchangeable and both are important to the other, the important aspect, I think, is the fact that we have become Charleston in particular has become such a popular place. Folks are locating to our city and our community at a rapid pace, and our ability to keep up with the demand has increased. And I think that's the difference that we've seen. Although the need has always been there, when we're producing in concert with the market rate, we move a little bit slower than they do, and consequently, we've had some challenges relative to that.
What is the market rate right now?
Well, it varies. Certainly when you're looking at rental versus ownership, there's a difference in cost. We attempt to, and we have produced affordable housing over the last several years under Mayor Joseph P. Riley and now under Mayor John Tecklenburg. We probably, in partnership with other organizations, produce in excess of 10,000 houses, which if you look at that over the last 30 or more years, that's about 300 a year. Not a bad statistic, but we would like to see more houses produced. And so naturally, if you look at market rate rents versus affordable rents, there is a gap between those. So for instance, if an efficiency costs $800 that is affordable or supported through an affordable housing program, your market rate is probably $1,500 or $1,200 to $1,500. So there is a difference, and rightly so, because the houses that we produce or that we help fund are there for that particular reason, to help persons that are in a certain income range.
And let me get back to the housing and community development, because this is from the city's website. It says this: the Department of Housing and Community Development coordinates the provision of various housing, community, and economic development programs in partnership with a number of organizations that include nonprofit and for-profit developers. And the department is responsible for creating, facilitating, and implementing activities and programs which stimulate community and economic development. Can you tell me what you're creating and facilitating and implementing right now when it comes to housing?
Sure. Well, right now we're building, for instance, 7 brand new homes in the Ashleyville community, West Ashley. Those homes will be for first-time home buyers. And when we say first-time home buyer, it means you have never owned a home or you hadn't owned a home in 3 years. And so what we do to ensure that that person's ready to purchase, we work with the Charleston Trident Urban League. They provide first-time home buyer training program. We have persons go through that training so that they understand the process. We provide a level of subsidy based on what that individual can bring to the table. And in probably 4 to 6 months, persons will be living in those houses. So that's on the housing end. On the community development end, we support 180 Place, which is a local homeless shelter. So every year we allocate funding to 180 Place. More recently, it's been for operations to help those who need a hand up. So that is an example of community development. Economic development are those areas where we use local subcontractors or contractors to help facilitate our rehab programs and the programs where we build new. So in all of those areas, we have literal examples of both community economic development as well as housing development. Because like I said at the beginning, all of those are interchangeable and all of those are important to what we do here.
And let me go also to what you all are also responsible for, expanding the supply of available housing. How much supply do you have right now for that?
We don't have a supply, we help facilitate the supply. So, for example, the city's facilitating the development of those 7 houses in the West Ashley community. In addition to that, we have a home going up on what we call Boyer's Court in the City of Charleston. We also have houses, one just completed on 56 Noonan Street.
Oh, yeah.
You know Noonan Street.
Yes.
And then we have a couple that are going to go up. They're in the design phase right now on 4 Noonan, 4 Grants Court, and then 83 Hanover. We're working with a nonprofit housing developer to do that, which means we either have provided land or funding or both in order to facilitate that housing happening. So even if our hands are not directly touching those, we have done something to facilitate that coming out of the ground.
And you also help stimulate the construction and rehabilitation of housing for persons of very low and moderate incomes in Charleston neighborhoods.
Yes, we do.
What are those numbers right now?
Well, right now, for instance, for the last 5+ years, we've helped probably 30 households each year with roof replacements. So roof replacements are for persons who own their homes, but the roofs are leaking. So if your roof leaks, it literally impacts the entirety of your house. The majority of our residents that access the program are elderly, but it's open to anyone who qualifies because the money that we invest is federally granted money, and so there are income requirements associated with that. But we literally provide roof replacements to those individuals. And then we also do what we call substantial rehabilitations, and we've probably done 2 to 3 of those a year. Those are larger projects, which means we have replaced all of the major systems in that house, or we have pulled it down to the studs, literally, and given them a brand new house in order to live comfortably and enjoy the remainder of their lives there.
I was thinking about this last night, and I don't know if this plays a part into your particular department, but obviously there's talk about short-term rentals in the City of Charleston.
Yes.
Where is your department in this discussion?
We're not, because although it impacts the housing inventory in the city, that has primarily been managed and implemented by our planning, preservation, excuse me, and sustainability department, and then our livability department. If people are able to use their homes to facilitate additional income coming into their homes, I certainly think that's an opportunity for them. It doesn't necessarily, I think, add any more inventory, affordable housing inventory to the market, but it is an opportunity for preservation of, meaning if those persons are able to secure that income, hopefully that puts them in a financial position where they can maintain their homes in the appropriate manner. But we don't manage any of it directly.
And let me go to the future when you think of affordable housing in Charleston. What does that look like in your mind?
Well, it varies. We call it a spectrum of housing because literally we attempt to help persons who might be earning 30% or less of the area median income, and that's a figure that is given to us by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, all the way up to people who might make 120% of the area median income. And so it'll vary, but we have figured out over the years that literally there is a need in that full spectrum. From somebody who might need a rental apartment offered by the housing authority to someone who can pay rents at 60% of AMI, or someone who can actually purchase a home and they earn about 80% of the area median income. So for us, we attempt to address the spectrum of housing, meaning we look at those who need rents and we work with partners who can provide that, and we work with those who also want to own. We work with partners and we provide that within our department. So the housing authority, for example, the city transferred a little over an acre of land to them at Meeting and Lee Streets, which you're familiar with. They're about to build 62 units of rental housing because that's the industry or the area that they focus in. That housing will help people who earn literally from 30% of the area median income up to someone who earns 150%. So we try to cover the spectrum because the need exists in the spectrum.
And let me get back to you, Geona Shaw Johnson.
Yes.
You are the director here for the Housing and Community Development, and I know off camera you told me you're a mom,
Yes,
and I know that you are a 1988 graduate of Columbia College.
that's correct.
What else should we know about you right now?
Nothing. Well, I enjoy what I do
Yes.
because I think it's making an impact in the community, and I attempt to bring a level of professionalism and excellence to everything that I do. I try to be forthright with folks because that's how I was reared. Mom and dad were really important in my life and had a great relationship with them. Both are deceased now. But you being from Charleston, you know how important family is. Family is very important to us. I recognize the needs that exist in our community, and I'm glad that I can be a part of the City of Charleston's process because oftentimes we will take a leadership role in making things happen for the least of these that I don't see necessarily happening in other governmental structures. So I'm really excited that over the years the leadership has consistently supported helping those who are on the lower end of our economic process to empower themselves and to find ways to bring themselves up economically and otherwise. So that's really important to Geona beyond just what my role is here in the City of Charleston.
That's good to hear. Well, Geona Shaw Johnson, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I
you.
really, really appreciate this.
Appreciate being a part.
Likewise.